Today we're taking a unique aquatic adventure on Blue Zoo TV presented by Hikari featuring Fluval, the brand new Cleveland Aquarium. Let's check it out. We're here with Tammy Brown, the general manager of the Cleveland Aquarium. Tammy, thanks for having us.
Thank you for inviting us.
So you've been in the job for about a year and a half, because This is a year and a half aquarium.
Right. Just barely open and having a blast.
When you had the designs or going through the designs or the ideas, what made you pick the Cleveland location and the powerhouse, which is an older building?
Right. So the first thing is that there was not another freestanding aquarium within a 4.5-hour drive of Cleveland. So that is a really nice aspect for it. And then when the owners came to Cleveland and saw the potential in this great old historic building, they couldn't resist.
But using an old building, historic building, had to have challenges, because you can't just start nailing things and tearing down walls.
Absolutely. So we actually just won an award for adaptive reuse for creating an aquarium in this building. It was built in 1893 as a powerhouse to power a streetcar system. We can't use any of the walls or any of the ceilings or beams or anything to support the weight of the exhibits. So that was a huge challenge.
So then that leads me to my other question. If down the road, because you've done a fantastic job with all of the displays, utilizing the space, if you ever want to expand, do you have to go outside the building then and build additions?
Yeah, we'd have to build an addition, and we are certainly looking at that potential. We love our space, and we absolutely want to keep this as our focus point, but there's so much more we want to show, so much more we want to tell, and we would have to add on.
So I would imagine that you just can't be a general manager of an aquarium if you don't at least like the aquatic side of the industry.
That's right.
So what has been the biggest challenge or surprise for you when you've come in and you've got aquatics? You know, people at home have tanks, 20-gallon, 55-gallon, and sometimes they say, boy, the maintenance is tough on that, and it's not. How does it change when you go to almost 1 million gallons under one roof?
If anyone had told me 2 years ago I'd be hiring scuba divers to work for me, I would have wondered what exactly they had for dinner that night. So, but that's, been a lot of fun. And I was surprised at how easy it was to find scuba divers in Ohio, because it's, not necessarily a scuba diving mecca. The second surprise is I come from a background of mostly visual arts organizations. And so you put something in a case or hang it on a wall and it's there the next day. Whereas I come in and I'm like, but that shark was right there, and now it's, obviously moved. So that's been a different thing too.
We talk about the utilization of space. I think one of the really cool little exhibits is the jellyfish up in the smokestack, because everybody in Cleveland knows the smokestacks from the powerhouse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, it was your idea, right?
Absolutely. No, that is actually really one of my favorite details, to have the jellyfish above you as you walk in and see them up in the smokestack. As you said, those are iconic exhibits. But I will tell you, when we were doing the construction, everybody kept talking about how cool that exhibit was going to be, and it was the last thing they put in place. I think that the construction guys were looking at the designers like, what did you do to us? How are we going to get that thing up there? But they figured it out.
So you talk about jellyfish and how you like it. One more question is, what species do you like? You have to have something you like. We've seen the kids touch the tanks, or you come into the tube, which you have a very long tube here at the aquarium that kind of stands out for you. Yeah,
that's like choosing your favorite child, first of all. But I will say that I do adore the cow nose rays, because they are so playful and they really love to interact with people. If I'm having one of those days in my office, all I have to do is come downstairs, see everybody hanging out around the touch pool and having fun with the rays, and I'm in a better place.
Tammy, thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great to have you here.
That is Tammy Brown, the general manager of the Cleveland Aquarium. Love fish? The premier consumer fish event of the year is coming to the Schaumburg Convention Center November 15th to the 17th. Meet Zeb Hogan from Monster Fish, see world-class aquatic speakers from around the world, and visit the live shark encounter. Let your kids show off their decorating talents in the Kids Aquarium Contest. Plus the latest equipment, supplies, live fish, and corals too. It's a family event everyone will enjoy. Join us in Schaumburg November 15th to the 17th. For tickets, visit aquaticexperience.org. We're here with Eric Holtz from the Cleveland Aquarium. Eric, thanks for having us. You're in charge of diving.
Yep.
You've got a lot of water here in a, what, 1.5-year-old aquarium?
Yes, we do.
How many gallons basically under one roof?
Roughly under one roof, we have about 1 million gallons of water.
So there's a lot of opportunities to dive, see the fish, feed the fish, and pretty much clean the tanks.
Yes, and we do a lot of that. We clean a lot of the exhibits here, but this exhibit behind me, actually, we get in and feed the animals as well.
How many gallons is the exhibit?
This one here behind me is close to 10,000 gallons, and there's a wide variety of life in here. We got barracuda, 2 green moray eels, there's a nurse shark over here, we have a puffer, some spadefish, and a few other small tropical fish in the exhibit.
When you're putting a display together of this size, what goes into the thought process of bringing in fish? Because you want to make sure some of the fish get along.
Yeah, that's an important consideration. But you also want to look at how big the animals get. You don't want them to get too big, you don't want them to be overcrowded. And also what kind of exhibit you're trying to create. So what do you want the visitor to see when they come to the aquarium?
What is the challenge, because this aquarium, the Cleveland Aquarium, is so new, it's only 1.5 years. Is there challenges for that? Because obviously you want the displays to look like they've been around a little bit, but things in aquatics take a little bit of time.
And they do, and a lot of that is how you design your decor, so you make it look like it's been there for a while. You don't want to make it look like it's a nice squeaky clean thing, so a lot of that is texturing the rockwork and making the corals look like they're alive and they've been there for a while.
Eric, the first thing that pops into this room is this gigantic touch pool, I guess, with this big, almost looks like 5 or 6 inch thick acrylic.
Yeah, it is pretty thick. Yeah, this exhibit's about 12,000 gallons. And it has 2 sides. We have rays on one side, and we have a bunch of invertebrates on the other side. The guest that comes here is allowed to touch both sides, and we have interpreters here that are answering questions and also facilitating the interaction.
So one of the unique things about this is you'll have somebody that's probably in half a wetsuit standing here and allowing the kids mostly, I'm sure, adults too,
and adults too,
to interact, because it's a great idea to have the kids interact with some species that you might see on TV, but you don't necessarily see in person.
Exactly, and a lot of people have never really touched a stingray or may not know a lot about them, maybe have some fear of them, so this is a great place for people to kind of get over that fear and actually get to touch one in person. You know,
it's interesting standing here talking to you because the stingrays are already coming up. It's almost like they've been programmed to, hey, go see the humans and let them touch you for a minute.
It's part of that too. They also, this is kind of where we stand when we feed them, so they know that we might have some food. So sometimes they will come up on the glass, hopefully getting a bite to eat.
Eric, a public aquarium, a national aquarium, heck, even somebody that has one at home, wouldn't be complete unless you have a marine aquarium with some corals.
Yes, and this is a new exhibit. We actually unveiled this around Earth Day. This features several species of live coral, and as you can see, most of the species the pieces are small. These are all surplus from other aquariums. None of these are actually harvested from the wild.
So one of the challenges, again, that we talked about is this looks really nice, but in a couple months, it's even going to look more outstanding.
Yes, and it does take some time for these corals to really fill out, but hopefully they'll get to grow out and you'll see more of those really bright, vibrant coral colors in a few months here.
I know you're in charge of the diving side of things. This tank might be a little smaller for diving, but I'm sure they still get you in there reaching with your hands, having to clean up once in a while.
Yes, I was actually just in here yesterday cleaning, and we do that every once in a while, but it is a little bit small. I probably won't get totally in there.
Eric, this tank's a little different in that it doesn't have live coral, but this is a nice display tank because you don't necessarily always have live coral to put on display.
Right, and live coral grows very slowly, and taking it out of the wild is very detrimental. So if we can have a display that sort of showcases some of those really vibrant colors you'd find in live coral, and to the untrained eye it looks like there's live coral there, that's kind of what we've done with this exhibit. And it's much larger, so we have a lot more fish and a lot more animals in this exhibit than we would in a smaller coral exhibit.
How big is this display?
The volume of this exhibit is about 11,000 gallons. And basically it turns over pretty quickly, which helps keep the water nice and clean and clear looking, so when the guest looks at it, it looks like a nice, clear, clean exhibit.
We went from a very large tank with the barracuda and ori eels. We saw some live coral, and then we ended up kind of on a display here, which is more of a display. This one focuses more on the fish, doesn't it?
It does. This exhibit is a lot sort of narrower, so you get a much closer look at the rockwork behind it, so you can see how the fish would hide in the rockwork, much like what you would actually see on a coral reef.
You know, I know you spend a lot of time underwater, but we appreciate you coming on land.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Hope you enjoyed some sights and sounds of Northeast Ohio aquatically. We leave you with Cleveland in the background. This is Blue Zoo TV, presented by Hikari, featuring Fluval. Blue Zoo TV is presented by Hikari. All fish love Hikari. And featured by Fluval, the Rolf C. Hagen Company. Blue Zoo TV is partnered with Carib Sea, bringing science to life. And EcoBioBlock by WonderSave Products. To email the show, go to bluezootv.com and follow us on Twitter @BlueZooTV.